Now joined by the insiders, Chris Johnston and Pierre LeBrun. Chris, Aaron Ekblad speaking to the media today for the first time since his latest suspension for that hit on Brandon Hagel. What did you make of how he handled things?
Well, it was also the first time since Hagel had some pretty pointed criticism of that play, essentially saying to go purposely for someone's head is about as bad as it can get. And, I thought Aaron Ekblad, under the circumstances, has handled it well. He called that commentary reasonable, but he didn't really want to engage in much back and forth. And he did point out that on that play, when he's coming down off the point, he's looking to finish that check every time, and that he intended to hit him through the chest and unfortunately missed with some unfortunate results because Brandon Hagel suffered a concussion on the play, didn't return in the series, effectively ended his season. So I think given what went on there, that's about as best as you could hope for. And he didn't hide from it, but he also didn't give the story much life either.
Well, in the meantime, what does Aaron Ekblad mean to the lineup for the defending Stanley Cup champions? A lot. When they traded for Seth Jones, they felt they had a glaring hole on the right side that they had never really replaced from Brandon Montour leaving via free agency last year after winning the Cup. And the idea, of course, was 1-2 Jones and Ekblad. You can decide the order. They really haven't had it. Ekblad's missed 22 of the last 24 games between his suspension, his two suspensions. And so the Panthers are just now perhaps getting a long-term look at what the puzzle looks like in terms of the trade deadline, the additions, and the depth, and the way they want their team to look on the back end. Paul
Maurice said Aaron Ekblad is as fit as he's ever been in his life. All right. So, Sam Bennett, let's get to Sam Bennett. Everyone's had their say over the last couple of days on what happened between him, Anthony Stolarz, the league not issuing any sort of supplemental discipline. What are we expecting tonight? Chris, any fallout from this? Any carryover?
This may disappoint you, Mark, because I know you're a chaos agent, but I really don't think that this story will go into the next few days. I believe truly that the Leafs are focused not on this in any way, shape, or form. Their focus is entirely on trying to win the game, which would not include probably chasing Sam Bennett around the ice or doing anything foolish that way, taking penalties. And look, this is a guy that he certainly has trodden the line before, but he's an important part of the Panthers' end of this. So I suspect coming out of this game, I don't have the crystal ball, that we won't be talking about him in that same way. Maybe it's him scoring a big goal or something like that. But I do not think that they'll be, the bad blood is already there. These are two division rivals. There's a lot at stake. The Panthers play a certain way. I think the Leafs are trying to match that physically, but I don't think we're going to see anything cross the line.
And to CJ's point, the Leafs internally from top on down, it was really obvious when you talk to different people in the organization. As soon as game one was over in terms of the next day, the Leafs had moved on from that storyline. They did not want wasted energy to be spent on what Sam Bennett should get or not get or what it means or how to get him back. The Leafs throughout the organization really wanted to stray away from that subject line, and I think that seeps down to the dressing room, to the players.
Yeah, Scott Lawton said best response is to win, and that's how you punish them. All right, well, they move on, but they move on without Anthony Stolarz, who's been so good for them for so long, had the best save percentage in the regular season amongst those who had enough starts. No timeline for his return. But what does history tell us, Chris?
Yeah, they're not saying much. They're not even confirming it's a concussion. Craig Berube said anything's possible. He might be back in this series. Look, it's 2025. Let's call it as it is. He was hit in the head both by a shot in that game and by Sam Bennett. He was vomiting on the bench. It's all the classic signs of someone who suffered a significant head injury. And what we know in history is that when that happens, players typically have to be out at least 7 days while they monitor where the symptoms go. During that period, they tend to work out to sort of basically up their level, but to see what's there. And then at that point in time, maybe he's eligible to come back. But, what that means for the series, just in terms of a timeline, is Game 5 isn't scheduled till next Wednesday. So, I think it's very possible Stolarz does not return in this series. Don't have much to add in terms of knowing anything specific about what he's dealing with, since this incident happened. But we saw enough on the ice to know that he's going to be out here for the foreseeable future. So it's Joseph Walsnet and maybe Matt Murray.
Well, Matt Murray being elevated to the backup job for the rest of the series or until Stolarz is back, as CJ just mentioned. And, one thing to note about Matt Murray, this is not an afterthought re-signing last summer by the Toronto Maple Leafs. The mere fact that Stolarz and Woll have never been big volume starters in their NHL careers was very much part of making sure they brought back Matt Murray, who was a two-time Cup champion. Yes, not the same place in his career anymore, but name me a number 3 goalie in the NHL that has more Stanley Cup playoffs experience than Matt Murray. And so they wanted to be prepared just in case for this very situation, that if they needed him to be number 2 suddenly in a playoff series, that they had confidence in what he's been through, and there you go.
And do you know what speaks to that? They put a unique clause in his contract, Pierre, where he was due a $100,000 bonus the first week of October. They did that because they had to put him through waivers to start the year, and they wanted to put a disincentive for someone else to claim him. So they were thinking way ahead of wanting to have this kind of experience in the back if needed.
The other option, of course, Dennis Hildeby, he was on the bench dressed as the backup after Stolarz left the game. Excuse me. I'll be ready for puck drop. Don't worry about that.
It's emotional.
Yeah, you know, I'm getting choked up here. Listen, Hildeby, obviously a rookie, not much experience there. Asked what are the chances, is it possible Stolarz returns in this series? Craig Berube said anything is possible.